and welcome to the Next Canon podcast. My name is Danny Ray, and you know that. But today, I'm so excited to welcome my good friend, William Douglas Johnson. Say hi.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello. So tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am a actor, performer, musician out of Seattle, and I have a lot of opinions about musical theater.
We love it. We love that. Well, we met at Cornish when we were students there. You graduated last year in the middle of the Pandanini, right? The Pandolce.
Oh, we graduated in the middle of the panorama, and it was a fascinating experience.
Fascinating?
Yeah, very fascinating experience. Just because, no one was prepared for it.
Not at all.
There were a lot of things that didn't work great, but there were also some things that actually ended up working really well for me personally, which was, kind of nice.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And your teachers and you were all caught off guard like crazy.
Oh, yeah. Literally the day before we got the email saying we would be taking 2 weeks after spring break, it was like the day before we had gone into the Cornish Playhouse for the first time for spacing for we were putting up Chicago, which unfortunately had to be canceled. But like we had literally just been all together and then poof.
Poof. Oh, I can't even imagine. Like, obviously I was like looking at it from so close, but like so not the same thing, because I graduated just a year before you guys. I felt so bad for all of you. I was like, what must that be like? Like, what the heck?
Yeah, it was I feel bad for my class, but I feel worse for the class that just graduated because they had to finish their full senior year partially online, and that's rough. That's a very difficult thing to do.
I also feel bad for like the kids who were freshmen when the pandemic started, like that year, because now they're juniors and they've basically never seen, like they don't see each other as often. Because like at Cornish, it's very like you are in everybody's bubble pretty much all the time. Like you're always together. And they do that on purpose for some reason.
They put everybody together, and there's no distance between any of you at all.
None at all. And sometimes that's great. And sometimes when you graduate, you're like, I need a break from everyone.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And human interaction. But like, yeah, for sure. So talking about theater school and like theater in general, what does the word canon mean to you, or like what represents that to you?
Yeah, so I don't remember exactly who told me this, but it might have been a good friend in high school who was like my mentor in getting me started in musical theater, because I started very late. I started musical theater my junior year of high school, and sprinted with it like even till now. Like I'm still just running with it. And one of the things that they told me was that the canon is a great tool. And I think that's like the perfect way to describe it. It's a tool. It is a device that can be used to identify patterns, trends, and history essentially of musical theater. The canon itself is pretty limited thus far, because it wasn't more recognized as an official art form until closer to like the 30s, 40s, 50s. And so we have from there on, which is a lot to deal with, but there's still so much before that we would have no idea about. So it is a great tool for identifying theater Yeah.
Yeah, like it's a tool for identifying like what theater is quote unquote everyone good or quote unquote popular.
Yes,
So
big quote on the good and popular,
both quote
because
unquote.
yeah, because you know, in the canon, so to speak, there are some big misses as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and of course, that's saying that with today's 2021 standards. But you know, if theater is an ever-changing art, it should continue with the times.
Yeah, for sure. And there is the misconception of like, oh, if everyone's doing it, it must be good.
Yeah. Oh, that's a huge misconception,
Yeah.
especially in the theater industry. There are some shows that just get repeated so much, and it's very confusing because constantly people bring up that these shows have so many problems. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and in today's day and age, it's not acceptable to be portraying people like this. Like,
Yeah.
blah. um,
What screams canon to you? Like, what is something that you're like, oh, this show is what pops to the front of my mind when I think of the word canon?
yeah. When I think of the word canon, I think of immediately my first thought is Sunday in the Park with George.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is I mean, it's a monument to musical theater. It is uh, everything powerful about musical theater and what it can do built into one show about an artist that explains like so much about the artist's psyche that is so important for people to hear.
Mm-hmm. Is that a one
Um,
that you like to say this is a good in the canon or this is
oh yeah,
yeah, okay, good.
it's a good one. I like it is it's a good show. Has um it has what a lot of musical theater shows tend to have is some strange script dialogue, um which is always so fascinating to me. It's always um interesting whenever a musical has an iffy script,
Yeah.
because I'm like, how did this music not translate into the script? Like I feel like, not being a composer, not being a writer, of course, that those would bleed into each other, but you know, I'm also not a writer composer.
Right. And those are usually, if not sometimes, very different people. Like
Yeah,
usually
totally.
the composer of what I perceive. I also am not a composer
Yeah.
or I'm a writer but not of musical theater. Um but like usually those have like the book and the libretto are like totally just like worlds apart sometimes unless it like converges
Yeah.
nicely. This is what I've gathered from hearing from a lot of people.
Yeah, there's quite a few musicals that books just they needed another year in previews. Um and it's unfortunate because a lot of those shows have really incredible music. Um it's actually really unfortunate how often flop musicals are just they're flops because of the script.
Yeah.
Um, because if you can't weave all of the music together, like it's a lot harder to have a story that people are super interested and devoted to.
Connecting dialogue is so important.
Oh yeah.
So important. So in this concept of canon that we are familiar with, what is your show that's got to go? Like we've seen it too much, it's too harmful, or we just don't like it.
um this one I go back and forth on a lot about, but I think I'm pretty much landed on this show can take a break for like 5 years at least. Um, the musical Carousel, um, it has some of the best music I have ever heard. Let me preface that. Um, You'll Never Walk Alone still haunts me to this day forever.
Mhm.
Um, but within that show, there is so much misogyny and sexism and just general toxic behaviors that I don't think should be necessarily celebrated. And it's difficult because the character of Billy is a flawed man. That's his whole thing. But I just don't see that show and its rampant sexism and misogyny. It needs to take a step back and potentially reevaluate how this story is being told, especially in the book. There are some really great lines of dialogue in the script, but there's just so much sexism and misogyny. And for today's standards, theater needs to be better.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that theater preaches about, being a safe space and a better place, and yet we tell these stories about abusing people consistently.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a false narrative in a lot of ways, like where it's like, this is a safe space to play. And I'm like, well, this is a place to play. A lot of people actually don't feel safe at rehearsals sometimes, or situations will make them feel extremely uncomfortable. And sometimes nothing gets done about those things.
And, occasionally, once in a while, things will happen about those things. And that's my direct call out to Scott Rudin, because he acted in an unacceptable manner for over 20 years in the Broadway League and damaged careers, like permanently. And so, like, there's a certain amount of reckoning that both Carousel and Broadway have to do.
Yeah.
But I think it's also important to keep in mind that theater is not Broadway. Theater is whatever theater is.
Right.
And, some of the best things you will ever see may be just like 20 minutes away from you, or like at your local shows. Like, there is so much great art everywhere. And all you have to do is look for it.
And it's not that hard to find. You just have to be willing to like walk into something where you don't know what you're going to get, which is, I think, a big thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of patrons are really scared to take risks on theater now.
Where they're just sitting in the audience. Like, the risk is to your physical body, the risk is low.
Yeah, the risk to your physical body is low. However, the risk to your mental health could be bigger. But that's why, like, I love this trend that theaters are starting to do, where they're providing content warnings ahead of shows, because, like, there are certain things that, like, if a show has it, I really don't want to be dragged into a like mindset that I can't deal with.
Yeah, especially if you walk in not expecting it, and then something that triggers you as audience member, like you weren't prepared, you weren't mentally, emotionally prepared for that. And I remember there being a lot of pushback, like, I don't want to ruin the surprise of the story. Like, then you'll be waiting for it the entire time. Like that rule of, if you see a gun on stage, it's supposed to go off before the show is over. Like, it's supposed to go off in like the second act.
Is that called, is that called Chekhov's gun?
I don't remember. I just remember it was like a quote unquote rule. That was just usually if you see it, you expect it to go off.
Yeah, that's another thing that I have like thought about, is like, theater rules don't really exist per se. They're more just practices. Like, Theater's such an individual thing for everyone who makes it, and like to say that there are like efficient rules for that is, in my opinion, a little absurd.
Yeah, entirely. And rules in general, like we all just made them up. Like someone said, you're not supposed to do this, or you should do this or this. I was early on in the podcast, I was talking with Anna Maria Campoy, and she was talking about how like theater needs to be a cathartic experience. And when we get out of this, we're all gonna need some like space to be like loud in the audience and like really go for it and like experience that to the fullest, because we've missed it for so long. Like people are going to be like screaming from the back row like yes, or like crying full out. Like it's a new thing. Like we're in a new space in the world and we need to change too. So
oh, absolutely. I mean, once when I can go see a show, even if it's in the very back, I will be screaming, crying, laughing my like heart out, because like if being at home for the last year at least has taught me anything, it's that there is something really, really special about the darkening of the room, the curtain rising, the lights flashing, and the music starting. All of that just creates this cacophony that is just so like energizing and joyous.
yeah, or just like compelling in whichever way. Like you kind of go into a
Yeah.
trance when you're watching too. You're like, oh, like you're in a totally different state of mind where you're experiencing and receiving on such a we're gonna be so overwhelmed, like an overwhelmed level.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna be extremely overwhelmed.
Oh yeah. The stimulus overstimulation, that's the word, overstimulation.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be so potent. And I think like that will be really fascinating to see.
I'm gonna need a
And really
20-minute
cathartic
intermission.
for a
Yeah.
lot of people.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a 20-minute
Yeah,
intermission. I need an
without a doubt.
extra 5. I don't want to go the whole 30, but I will need an extra 5 minutes to
Uh-huh.
just
To just
chill
put
out.
myself back together.
Don't care what the show is. I just need a break. But
Without a
yeah.
doubt.
So in this hope of building this new space, like what is a show that you would like to tell everyone about? What is the show that we should know?
I had it in my head and then it totally disappeared. Give me like 2 seconds.
You're fine.
There are so many amazing musical theater shows available. And to put it on one is very difficult, but
I'll give you 2 if you want.
okay. I'll do 2 because that's a little easier for me to like compartmentalize. If you're in for a really beautiful score, and want to hear just like what contemporary musical theater like has the potential to be a great score to listen to, is The Bridges of Madison County. It's one of my favorites. Another show that suffers massively from a book that is rough. But the other show that I think more people should know about is Moving Out. It's a musical featuring the music of Billy Joel. And, you know, a lot of people aren't happy with how jukebox musicals have been, but Moving Out is such a fascinating departure from that. It's this amazing dance ballet with you know, the amazing music of Billy Joel, if I do say so myself. And it's always just, it's really fascinating to me whenever pop music is brought into the musical theater world and canon, because it just makes the canon so much more bigger, and that's super exciting to me.
Yeah, definitely. I was never actually one of the people that hated jukebox musicals that much. Like I always thought they were kind of fun because like it's kind of a when we
Yeah.
lied, like Hannah Montana meets Miley Cyrus, like you you know.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, jukebox musicals are so great because they're also a great way to get people into theater.
100%.
Um, the amount of people pouring into theaters to see Beautiful, the Carole King musical, like
Even
it.
Mamma Mia, like we
Oh,
still
Mamma
love Mamma
Mia!
Mia.
We love Mamma Mia.
We love it. And I loved doing Xanadu Jr. when I did that I was directing,
Oh my
assistant
gosh,
directing for
yes,
my
that's
senior
right.
thesis. Those kids all graduated this year, so
They
congratulations to all of
did.
them.
Congratulations to all of them.
But it was so fun. And like I didn't even realize really that it was a jukebox musical. Like I knew in my head, but like I had never really heard many of the songs before that moment. And so I was in a store like the next like week or something after we had closed, and oh, what's the one? Oh no, the song is leaving me. It's got woman in the title and it's the villain song.
Oh, Evil Women.
Evil woman. Yeah, that song.
Yeah.
That Shem Yeo sang was amazing. Good job, Shem. But I heard
Absolutely
it
love
like
it.
in the grocery store and I was like almost like traumatized, but not really. I was just like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Like, where am
Um,
I?
I actually have one more that I just
Yeah,
remembered. I'm literally wearing the shirt, and
there
I
you go.
don't know why I didn't just look at it. There is an organization called Public Works, and they have been doing these musical adaptations of Shakespeare shows, and modernizing some of the text and creating really beautiful songs to go along. Um, my personal favorite one is Public Works As You Like It. I had the amazing opportunity to do it about 2 years ago now. Wow, that's wild. About 2 years ago at Seattle Repertory Theater, and it was a life-changing experience. And that music is just, it fills a hole in your heart that you didn't know you had.
There you go. We
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, so many people feel so differently about Shakespeare and Shakespeare adaptations. It's so fascinating to listen to all of the different opinions on it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, super
Yeah,
cool.
and this is a much more, in my opinion, a much more inclusive version. Um, Swapping some characters around, changing some storylines a little bit, just like little tweaks.
Mm-hmm.
But the heart of the story is still there, and it's increased even more with some great like pseudo pop music. It's so
Yeah,
good.
we love that. Music really can just like elevate your emotional levels whenever you
Oh
when you
yeah.
hear it. Like that's why people listen to it when they're sad, when they're happy. Like you can literally find music for all of your emotions. So when it comes in to theater, I think it's so helpful in a lot of ways to furthering storylines if used correctly.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. It
Yeah.
is one of the most impactful tools in entertainment that people just need to learn how to use because
100%.
it's
And
so powerful.
it could be like even a note or a word that someone sings a certain way that just gets you.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's the TikTok joke that like if you hit the G note on a keyboard, it immediately brings everyone back to their emo phase, which like of course it does. Uh, like that's just the power of music association.
Right, definitely. Like I know I've never seen Dear Evan Hansen, nor do I necessarily want to watch the movie. But the
Understandable.
song Requiem, I mentioned this last episode, so sorry if you guys are listening to again, but sorry about it. The song Requiem, there is a line in there where the sister, whose name I don't know because I've never seen it, she goes, Zoe, she goes, "You're not the monster that I knew," but it's just like the "you" is like broken, like just like hits me right in the heart, and I love it every time. Like, even though it's so painful, I'm like that, like I'm in my car just like screaming, like yeah! Just like screaming it. It's so good.
Yeah, Laura Dreyfus's performance on Requiem in that album is so strong.
So good.
Yeah, she walks that perfect line of like being that teen that's hurting and then just showing the hurt and then letting it simmer back down. It's fascinating how she can use her voice.
Similarly, in a much more beloved to me show and Come From Away, when
oh my god, one of my favorite shows of all time.
Same. My absolute favorite musical that I've ever seen live, 100%. And I haven't seen that many, but like that is my favorite one. I was very grateful to get to see that when it was at Seattle Rep.
Oh, amazing.
So when Jen Colella, who plays Captain Beverly Bass, is singing Me in the Sky, I cry every time. I probably cried a few weeks ago listening to it. But there's a few moments when her voice, she'll say like, the one that uplifts is like, welcome back to the US of A. She's like just fully opening up and like just like I just got chills thinking about it. Like,
oh yeah.
And then there's also the ones where it's like everything the one thing I loved more than anything was used as the bomb, boom, and it was like
Ooh.
It hits every time, like the boom right after it, like sound design on point, music on point.
The writers and designers of the music and the album of Come From Away really knew what they were doing with the silences, and it's oh my god, it's stunning. It breaks my heart every time.
Every time. I used to listen to the whole soundtrack. Ironically, this is maybe ironic, on the way to the airport. I would get on the what is it called? I haven't been in Seattle for a year and I've forgotten what that train system is called to the airport.
Oh, the light rail?
The light rail. I would get on the light rail in like Capitol Hill, and by the time I was pulling into the thing, it would be like Me in the Sky, or like I would be nearing the end of like a power ballad right as I'm like pulling up to the airport, like just singing and like crying on the train.
Oh yeah, totally. I have vivid memories of course, while I had a concussion, I was flying out to a competition, and I spent the entire drive to the airport and the entire plane ride listening to the original Broadway casts of West Side Story, Cabaret, and Next to Normal, and that was my entire plane ride.
Oh my god, I would have so much trouble not like just like singing and dancing like in my seat.
Oh yeah. There's lots of it's really an exercise in restraint.
Truly, it's like the try not to laugh challenges, but it's like try not to sing out loud on a crowded airplane. Be crying on the train, like just really trying not to, looking out the window, looking all somber, like
yeah, just like montage viewing.
Yes, you're like, is someone filming my life right now for a documentary? Like, am I what is that movie where he thinks he's in the movie, which he actually is? Do you know that movie? Everyone in the listening is like, my dad would be so mad.
I like know what movie you're talking about, but I can't.
I might cut this part out because I'm so embarrassed.
That's okay. I can't remember
it's Jim Carrey. It's Jim Carrey, and he's like seeing these people watching
Truman
him.
Show. Oh my god, Truman Show.
Oh my god, we got there.
We got there eventually.
I was like, is it a T or a J? I was like, Jim Carrey and Truman Show. Uh, but yeah,
All the pieces were
it felt
there.
like that. All the pieces were there. It felt like that riding on the train, just like listening to gazing out the window, listening to everything.
Yeah.
We love music. We love musical theater. Do you have any shows that are happening around you right now that you'd like to promote today?
I do. I
Oh
have
my
a
gosh.
fun little podcast that you can check out on Spotify.
Ooh,
It is called Maelstrom. It is a high seas D&D adventure game that me and some of my close friends have been putting together for the last 6 months or so.
so
Um,
fun.
yeah, we've got a good bunch of episodes out right now, and the episode upcoming this Sunday is a very exciting episode.
Ooh, we love it. By
Yeah,
the time
we've
this
got
is
some
airing,
big
it just
developments.
came out. So there you go.
Oh, awesome.
So now
Very
they can go
cool.
and listen to it. Any other shows around you that you'd like to shout out or know of or anything?
No shows, but if you are interested in following me on Instagram, you can go ahead and give me a follow at William_D_Johnson.
There we go. Wonderful. That will be linked below as well. My very, very last question for you, which is a sneaky question, is who would you like to see on this podcast?
Oh, oh my gosh, there's so many people. But right now, Christian J. Quinto, I'd
Yes.
love to hear him. He is great. Trey Scott, of course, because he's a genius.
Shout out.
Anyone from Young Hot Thespian, because they're all incredible artists who have such amazing, amazing art to offer the world.
Yes, we love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me. This has been so fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Of course, it's been great to see you and chat with you. I see you on social media pretty often, but like, other than that, I don't really get to see you.
It's nice to actually chat.
I know, right? Well, I just want to say thank you to everyone listening. If you have listened to this far and you've liked what you've heard, give us a like. I don't know. Follow us, subscribe, do whatever you're supposed to do on the platform that you are on. I hope you guys have a great week. Thank you so much again to Will, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.